Am I? Can you hear me? No. Is mine working?
I think he'll turn the volume up in a moment.
He will?
Yeah.
Okay. How was the commute?
It's tough to.
Did you walk?
This morning, and I just went to the gym for round 2. I do it 3 times a day.
Do you walk over there?
I walk. Yeah, I walked for half an hour today too, just now.
Wow, good on you.
Yeah.
Okay, testing.
Ready.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Doesn't sound like your mic.
It's on. Now it's on. Now it's on. Any better?
Closer.
Yeah, it's on. Okay. All right. So we're good. Okay. Welcome to the Yountville Arts Commission. It's June 2nd. Hillary, welcome back to Hillary. Would you please call the roll?
My pleasure. Commissioner Dornbecker?
Here.
Commissioner Hudson?
Here.
Commissioner Caption?
Here.
Chair Share?
Here.
And note for the record, we have 3 members absent. Commissioner, Vice Chair Resnick, Commissioner Lay, and Commissioner Meredith. Thank you.
Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So you've all read the agenda. Is there a move to adopt the agenda today?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? So the motion passes. Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Any comments on the minutes? I didn't find any issues.
Yeah.
Either. I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, so the vote is to approve the minutes from the May 5th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, so there are no nays, so the motion carries. Do we have any public comment today, or anyone coming and nothing came in online?
We've received no electronic public comment.
Thank you. So Sam, Art Fund report.
Yes, good afternoon. In your packet are the monthly financial statements ending April 30th, so through the month of April only. Not a whole lot of change there. We saw in the first report, which is the general fund report, the majority of our revenue from Arts of Stroll isn't there yet from tasting packages, so you don't see that yet. But of course, a lot of our expenses had already gone out before then. So at the May end report, you'll see a closer look at how we're going to end the year there. And then below the public art fee fund report, the restricted fund, we're still at $8,800 balance there. And so you'll see we did place 3 sculptures over the past few weeks. And And so you'll see those expenses come out. And so we will still, I believe, end the year in a positive balance there, not having to dip into the council's approved subsidy. But I am working on the analysis of the Art Fee Fund now to see any revenue that we can move over, but it's still going to be pretty minimal at this point, because as you remember, it's the 1% valuation of any commercial building projects, which we have some going on, especially with Ponchas, that are larger in scale, but we can't move the money until the project is final. And also Clementine went under renovation as well. So there are some things hanging out there, but.
And who else?
Clementine, the old
right,
space, yeah, on Washington.
That should be opening pretty soon, I would think.
Yes, so they'll probably receive their final building permit sign off soon. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Any questions on those two reports? And then, of course, there's also the Town of Yountville Community Foundation Fund that has seen no change, so $66,000 there.
With the addition of the Art Sip and Stroll, it appears that that's probably going to be about par.
Yes, so we'll go over the Art Sip and Stroll report specifically. So I think we're going to end, we're barely just breaking even this year, but breaking even is good.
Yeah.
And so when you look at us as a whole, I think we're pretty much right on budget for what we expected. So we did had a good year as far as the expenses and the revenue. So if there were some things we didn't do and we didn't realize the revenue, like we scaled back on the roundtables, then of course the expense didn't go out either. So,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Anyone, any other questions? Okay.
So just as a reminder, we did approve a 2-year budget cycle last year, so we already have our budget in place. And when I reviewed it for 25-26, I didn't make any suggested changes in the mid-cycle, is what they're calling it, budget report. So we will move into our next budget year on course. So.
Are we going to have the opportunity to go over that again?
Absolutely. I'll re-present it to you maybe at the next meeting. Actually, it'll have to be the August meeting because I will not be in attendance for July. But I'll send out an email copy of that just so you all have it, and then we can go over it in detail in August.
And it was a automatic 5%, or is that what you did?
I did. I increased the majority of the line items 5% over the year. Yes. And as we go forward, and we'll talk about it more during Art Sip and Stroll, like things are costing significantly more. We're starting to see the escalation in costs that we thought were coming. And so as we head into the mid-year adjustments next year, in specifically regards to those high dollar items like all of the tenting and rental costs, we may have to ask for a mid-year budget adjustment. But I feel pretty confident in the numbers we have for everything else. But that's probably our number one most significant expense all year. So
we'll, in that report, we'll see what we spent this
absolutely,
year.
yeah.
Great. Thank you, Sam.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the Art Walk Subcommittee is busy. It's real busy. We installed the Mountain Hearts sculpture in front of Model Bakery. I think it looks good there. I take it people have stayed off of it, Sam?
Yeah, it's doing well. We check on it. Yeah, haven't seen anyone try to ride it. It's not the most comfortable thing if you try to get on it, but yeah, no, it's safe.
That's
safe.
great.
Yeah.
I think it looks good there. Okay, and she did her. You did.
Yep, that's all been processed.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you. And we also installed the Sunburst in front of Petit Logis, which looks great, I think. And then I've had several more phone calls this last month. In 1 week or so, I had 3 calls on Rocky, and I really had not had calls on Rocky in some time. So I don't know that, you mentioned the price, and that happens to be probably the most expensive one, and that sort of drops off. But a serious one on the dancing butterflies, maybe a smaller version of it. and love wine too. So that's encouraging. I'm happy to take the calls and talk to the people, but at this point, they don't seem prepared for what sculpture costs. But we have a couple of sculptures. Well, Dale Rieger's piece is, he brought it down. Was it 58 or something like that? I can't remember.
I think 58, yes.
It's really an extremely handsome price. And Richard Starks put Cubes and Tubes at $4,500. So if people are serious about sculpture and they're looking around, they can find good prices, and it probably would be a good time to make an offer if anybody's interested. So I kind of know the artists who are more willing than others. So it depends on what sculpture they're calling about. But it's nice to have, a little bit of activity in terms of the outside coming in. I think the sculptures look good, Sam, the cleaning.
Yeah, I think that was really positive, and they'll be out the third week of every month to do the cleaning. And so, yeah, I went through after, and I was really happy with the outcome, and they were happy with the day. It took them a little over 3 hours, which I think is terrific. So I think we found a great solution, hopefully.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. It really makes a difference. So I appreciate that, and a perfect solution with the kids. Do you want to comment any more on the mural, or?
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about that. So the mural was cleaned on May 9th, and so it was not just power washed, but he scrubbed in areas where he could safely. And so then I went out the next day and took some really clear pictures that I'm going to share with the artists just to get their input. So there, obviously, as you remember, about a year ago, there was a project on the overpass by Caltrans. And my fear is that during some of the inclement weather, that what dripped down was more of like a cement runoff than dirt, because it didn't come off, basically. So there is a pretty large area where it's streaked with white, and it's not something we can clean off. So, as you're driving under it, I think it still looks pretty good. But if you're walking under it and you're really looking at it, it's obviously, looks worn in some areas. So we'll get their input on that. I think that, they'll more than likely say, we'll come and fix it, and this is how much it'll cost, which they did before, which obviously having the artists themselves come and do any repairs or updates is what we should be doing. And then I would say at that point, depending on the cost, we may have a conversation about, how to move forward or not. So. How to move forward or not. I mean, if it's so significant that they have to repaint a whole side of it, do we take an opportunity to have a conversation about some, going in a different direction or something? It's been 10 years. And so, there could be other potential. I'm not sure if the timing's right to try to fundraise for a project at this point, but at least we'd know what we're looking at for the future.
They might. It occurs to me that, it doesn't take direct sun to make paint fade. And after 10 years, if they brighten up one area, it might,
Yeah, so we'll start the conversation and then, talk about it as we get more information.
Super. Thank you. Anything on the sidewalk, Judge?
They had emailed back a few questions, such as do we have a power washer on site? And so they could save some costs, and we're still waiting for that quote.
And, I'm sure we'll talk about sewage, Johnson, anyway. Yeah. Okay. It would be nice to get that done before all the hoopla, but, okay. All right, so that's it. I do have a couple of leads. I'm talking to an artist in Connecticut, thanks to Linda. There's an artist in Galena. Is he actually in Galena?
No, he's in Elizabeth, which is right next door to Galena, and there's about 4 buildings there.
And that's great. So I love it when you guys give me some referrals, and it's easy to open the conversation, and a nice conversation with Mark, the husband, yesterday. And David's on my list. So, and then Loveland is coming in August. I do plan to go, barring any unusual circumstances. So I think we'll be in good shape. There are many sculptures that could move all at once and be gone. So it's kind of timing, because they've outlived themselves. Sarvenga over at Whistle Stop is probably going to leave in the next couple of weeks. I don't have anything there, but Cornerstone had approached us, maybe 6 months or so ago. They would like to not have a sculpture there. They would like to have a table and an umbrella. So he bent Robin Carboni's ear, and now I understand that they've found 2 other locations that might be for sculpture on the property. I have no idea what they're talking about. But Robin and I are going to talk tomorrow. So I hope we don't lose another pad. That would be 5 just this year, or 6. So anyway, I'll talk to Robin and see what we can do. And that's really it, I think, for now. Any questions about Art Walk?
Well, that was a lot. That was a good
Yeah.
report.
Okay, gallery. Do you have anything, Cindy, you'd like to add to the gallery, or am I going to give you?
No, I didn't get
Okay.
any report from
Your person. I'm sorry.
What?
No, for 2026. Chaz. He's been scheduled now.
Yes.
Okay, that's new.
Okay, yeah.
And we also moved, the photo finale up a week to accommodate the Yountville International Film Festival date. So it just adds a week to that show. So it won't hurt to have the show up when all that's going on. So, and Michael was fine with it, so that's good. What else? I think that's, what else does Jeffrey say? Okay, Seward Johnson. Busy. We have an ad, yay, that looks really nice. Isn't that pretty? And that'll go in this 50s, yeah, whatever it is. I'm sorry. Magazine, and I'll talk about that under marketing. But and then we're working on a 5x7 promotional card, and the cover will be basically this, and then information on the back. Website. I don't know how picky the foundation, the atelier is, but the website doesn't have the fine print.
Oh, okay. We'll get that updated tomorrow.
And I don't think the e-blasts or the newsletter has that either.
Okay.
I mean, you can barely read it, and they don't care. I think it's illegal something.
Okay. I'll get that updated.
Okay, great. So we're set. We're talking the week of June 26th. June 26th is the opening. The Monday we'll install. And then when does everything come in?
They're supposed to be shipping out on the 9th, I believe. And so I would anticipate our goal was to have them by the 16th. So I have an email out to Emma just saying, as you start that, because my understanding is that the sculpture and the trays are all coming in the same shipment. So, and then we blocked out that week in the boardroom so that Caitlin can unpack and catalog each of them so that on Monday we're all ready to go. And then I know Emma did share a list with information on each tray with Caitlin, and she's already started working on the audio tour for that, which is we're getting really, and the tags that'll go on each one. So
Did Anna send her that list?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but that would have been a big help because she was going to put the specific collection that each tray came from which I assume she did, but we would have had to go through and look them all up. It would
Yeah, I'll ask Caitlin to forward that so that you have a copy of it. Yeah.
of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just glad she got it, because it saved her a lot of.
Yeah, and then we ordered, we'll have plenty of long poles. So we ordered more poles for the gallery, so that's all taken care of.
Good. Can Michael help that day? Would that help?
Oh,
us?
that would be wonderful.
Okay, yeah, I think he will. Okay, so it'd be probably you. Are you going to help?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And
Caitlin and I, I'm thinking Jeffrey will be there, and then
Okay.
yeah, you and Michael.
Michael and Jeffrey work well together. And me, I don't do much, but
Well, I think the eye is going to be important, for this show. There's so many of them, and we want to make sure that, it presents as we want. And but it's really exciting. We had a great meeting with the chamber last week, and I talked it up and said, we'll be sending you more collateral. This will be great social media for you. This really is the first time that this entire collection has been seen in one place and on the West Coast. It's a pretty big deal.
it is a big deal.
So I'm trying to really, the press release went out, we're really trying to push it, locally. I told them, if you want Fuller and Sander maybe to take a look at this and push it and so yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and like you, I'm trying to talk it up. I had a nice response from Sasha that she would like to hear more about it, but now I can't pin her down to when that will be. So one way or another, I'll track her down again. And Lisa acknowledged it, but she didn't say she would run it or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried when I wrote it. I tried to be Lisa and ask the question, because she always asks great questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe she didn't have anything. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it went out, and it's long, but it kind of. So anyway, I think.
Could you send the press release to me too?
Oh, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I'm happy to, circulate it.
Great.
Okay.
It is a.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. It is a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so complex that you can only touch on certain segments of it, of the project, in a press release. You could make a whole press release about the sculpture we're getting in,
Yeah.
or about
There's a lot
one of
going on.
Pardon me?
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and hopefully we'll get some press, and then as it opens, maybe we hit it again with a different segment of the.
No, I think that'd be a great idea. Yeah. And I'm excited to share too, starting this Saturday, the gallery will be open 11 to 4 on Saturdays through August to just as a test run. So we've trained several of our building attendant staff on kind of our expectations for what that means. And then as each show changes, they'll get a primer on the artist and the show so that they can answer questions. And the next 2 shows we're not selling anything except for books during Seward Johnson, so it makes it pretty easy to test drive because they don't have to conduct art sales so much. But and they'll keep data on how many visitors come in and interact and that type of thing, so we can really get a good understanding of what the traffic flow is like.
I think we may have to look at some point, rejigging and remodeling and expanding that space. Wouldn't you think so?
I like it the way it is.
Yeah, we have talked about that.
Yeah.
Kind of at length, but
Yeah.
where to go with it. Taking the doors off helps because it really feels.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard, and we on the gallery committee, we make every effort to hang as much in that small space as we can. But it would be great to have it twice the size, for sure.
I have a question. What was my question?
We were talking about
The
Saturday
gallery.
hours.
Oh, yeah. What about selling our merchandise?
Yeah, they'll be able to do that too.
Oh, they will?
Yeah, so we're currently have it on display at the front desk at the community center, so people can buy it there during business hours, and then they'll have it on Saturdays too.
On weekends. Okay, great.
Okay, anything else on gallery? Yeah. Okay, so literary, I didn't see a separate literary report, so,
I might have something just to throw in there.
okay.
Okay. Because technically I'm on that subcommittee with Jeffrey, although he's pretty much a lone one-man act. But just one thing, I was approached recently by Deb Alterstar. Do you know that name? Okay. And she has a friend that is a PhD professor of literature in San Diego. And I guess she's an expert in Ukrainian poetry. And she was approaching me about possibly doing some kind of an event coordinating with us. So I don't know, outside of what she sent me an email with some information, and I forwarded it over to Jeffrey, and we said we would chat about it. So that's all I have. But
Well, sounds interesting.
it could be,
Yeah,
but we shall see. It's a little out of my wheelhouse, I feel like, so I was kind of treading lightly with the whole thing until I was able to get a little bit more information
Yeah.
and talk to Jeffrey about it and see if we think it's something that we want to get, and see if we can get on our schedule maybe for next year.
great. Super. Appreciate you being open to it. Okay, anything else on literary? And so Jeffrey has all the information.
He does. I forwarded him. He has the information that I have. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
So I will just give an update on the bookmark story contest, just because I know Jeffrey's not here today. So I sent him the first round of applicants, and we actually had 64 entries, which was insane.
Oh.
And I think six of them are youth, so that's terrific. And there's still some time left before that deadline, so I think that's a terrific response. And so then they go through and they're anonymously juried by the group he puts together, and then the award ceremonies in the early, I think, September sometime. So he worked really hard trying to target schools. He went out to so many schools and handed out flyers. So I think timing-wise, it's just the end of the school year is difficult for teachers. So something, we can maybe work on in the future is the timing part. So, but 4 youth entries is better than none. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And if they participate and you make a big fuss with them, which I'm
Yes.
sure Jeffrey will, it might encourage, the next year's.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that program. It's a great program. Okay. All right. Marketing subcommittee. So in Noelle's absence, she didn't leave me any notes. So I don't have much of a report. I would just point out that in our 5765 magazine, which I can personally say is all over Carmel. It is so all over Carmel that I got tired of looking at it. Wow. It's in the rooms, it's on the benches, it's in the stores, it's in the wineries, it's everywhere. So I wish we had some of that distribution here. However, I think it's well placed in Carmel because we want to get the word out down there. Mm-hmm. So, I say that with, it would be nice to see it here now and then. But anyway, it was in our hotel room. So we had the big Art Sip and Stroll ad in the magazine, and then Noelle had submitted some editorial, and we also had a couple pages on the editorial. There's quite a bit of Yountville in it. If anybody wants to see it, I'm happy to share. The Taste of Yountville was in it. The Chamber was in it. And there's also Healdsburg is also in it. So it's
San Francisco publication, isn't it?
no, I think it's Carmel Publique. It's basically in Carmel.
Yeah, I think they're just Carmel, and then he expanded to Napa Valley.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful magazine, and it was great to see. I mean, first I took a picture of a stack of the magazines to send to Noelle, and then I got tired of taking pictures because they were everywhere. So that's a good thing. So we mentioned the press release on Stuart Johnson. And Marita, do you have an Art Sip and Stroll report you'd like to make?
So I want to first thank Linda Faber for.
Make sure your mic is on, Marita, sorry.
I want to be sure to thank Linda Faber for being my right-hand person while I was traveling. I have a relationship with all the people that we reached out to, except for the first one, who is Jessica Birch at Channel 5, and I'm still working on her. And that's the thing that I learned in my career, was that it just takes hit after hit after hit, gentle hits to these people to, finally develop them. And so I've developed some, and some of the people that I had worked with before have retired. So hint, hint. But so we did reach out to Jessica Birch, but we had success with my good friends Roberta Gonzalez from Channel 2 Weather, and Heather Holmes, who did an interview. Samantha, oh, that was great.
I still have not seen it or heard it. I keep hearing people say, "Oh, I saw you." I'm like, I never saw it.
So
I have to get a
they
link.
They may have it up on their Channel 2 website. If not, I'll ask them to put it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I asked for a link, but I didn't hear back. So that was
Yeah,
fun.
something's going on. Heather is either transitioning to another segment or whatever, but she's a little bit busy right now. But then we sent this to Sacramento, as you remember, and I was really hopeful because Aram Sarkisian is the son of my next-door neighbor who passed away. And I worked a lot with her. She needed help, and I helped. So I was hoping that, and he's the, not the executive director, but a director of TV station KOVR in Sacramento. Mm-hmm. But he let me down this year. But then again, I'll poke and poke and poke gently in the future and turn him around, because Sacramento, we should be on the air in Sacramento, I think. They are a for-profit TV station, so we have to sort of treat them carefully if we want to get anything for free. So, and then Marky Banez. Did you see him, Samantha?
He was in the office when I went to KVUIN, but I didn't talk to him specifically.
But did he come to the Arts of
I did not see him that day, no.
Because you put aside 2 tasting packages for him.
I did. I don't believe they were claimed, but
I didn't
He
see him
said for
walking
sure he
around.
would.
I didn't see him either.
You didn't see it.
But, there were a lot of people, too. So,
And, I'm sorry. And then is there one more? No, I think that's about it. Mark Ibanez said he confirmed having Cody Stark, or knowing Cody Stark. So from KOVR I reached out to Cody Stark. I reached out to 4 different people at KOVR
which is where?
in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, that's just fodder for future.
Maybe there's some way to stay connected to them during the year. We don't get their station.
Right.
Because I noticed with all of the broadcasters, you've kind of tuned me into these people, all different stations, and they have a different way of presenting.
That's true. And some of them have calendars, video calendars that I missed. So next year I'm going to start earlier, and maybe I can coordinate with Linda Faber. But we'll team up a little bit more and start earlier and work on developing these relationships deeper. But otherwise, I was pleased. I've sent thank yous to Roberta and Heather and, Marky Banez. Hopefully, they did what they told me they were going to do.
Well, as somebody who knows how hard it is to stay engaged at home when you're 2,000 miles away, thank you for all your effort. I think I got emails just copied in pretty regularly while you were gone, and we really appreciate it, because it wouldn't have happened this year without you. It would not have happened.
Well, I am delighted that I was able to help, and I look forward to staying in touch in the future.
Well, thank you. Okay, is anything else on marketing?
Where is Noel?
Noelle is in France.
That she's got some nerve.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I heard from her the other day. Yeah, some nerve. So we, at some point, I guess we need to get together on the advertising for Sue and Johnson and what we're going to do. Yeah. Okay. All right. Performing arts and other.
Performing arts and other. So let's see, we have our first summer concert coming up on Sunday. So super, super excited for that. That's the Jacob Benning Band. He was a solo performer at the Art Sip and Stroll. He was awesome, and I was glad I happened to be sitting there listening to him when he was performing, because he's very chatty with the crowd and everything. And I said, hey, aren't you going to tell them about your upcoming performance? And he was like, oh, I guess I should. So I had him promote that as well, that he will be there with his band. So definitely looking forward to that. Sam, I don't know, do we have sponsors this year, or is there anyone I need to thank other than the food truck and obviously the town?
We don't have sponsors this year, but I told Caitlin how I had kind of sent you an email with certain information in the past, so she's going to send that to you too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
you'll be ready to go.
Okay, awesome. And then Judy and I met regarding our upcoming Bottle Shock movie that will be taking place later in the summer. And she has a connection, somebody that gave her some contacts for Chateau Montelena. So we're going to start working on that. We're hoping that we'll be able to get someone from Chateau Montelena to come and maybe introduce the movie, similar to what we did last year with Sideways, where we had the author coming in, and maybe they can give a little background and then hopefully pour some wine. And so we're working on kind of getting that whole thing to come together, so it'll be similar to last year.
Is that at Veterans Park, or is it at Yountville Park?
That's at Veterans.
Okay,
Yes. And then she and I also met prior to her going on vacation about a potential new concept for our fall edition of the Legacy Roundtable. It may not actually, we're considering doing something that may not be under the Legacy Roundtable badge. Because I like the Legacy Roundtable and that format. And so if we do a little departure from that, I think it may not be an actual roundtable. Mm-hmm. But she and I were tossing and brainstorming out some ideas. Sam, I don't know, did she send any of that to you? Okay, because she had told me that she was going to do that, and so I wasn't sure. Anyway, but our potential idea is to do something like a kind of a Dancing Under the Stars, where we might bring in a dance instructor to teach people some moves, and then maybe have a flash mob outside in the community plaza. Just like in a fun way, right?
You go, girls.
In a fun way. So anyway, more to come. I don't want to, I don't want to speak out of turn, because there's some different moving parts and pieces to it, but we thought it might be a fun thing to do, and obviously have to run it past.
Wasn't the round table going to be a dancing one? Are you kind of changing that? Or?
Well, yes. So we thought about that, but then the more we talked about it, I thought it was sounding a little too complicated. And I was concerned that we might not have the turnout that we would want because usually that is a ticketed event. So for this other concept we're thinking of, it would not be a ticketed event.
That sounds fun.
So we'll see. More to come.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that's it for now.
So you mentioned somebody mentioned the bags and the ball caps. So you saw them at.
The ball caps are amazing.
They are. So fun.
I already went and bought some.
And the bag. And we got them the day before, which we thought was impressive considering we didn't know when or if we were going to get them. We had 3 sales at Arts and Minstrel, and I bought 2, I must confess. So I'm not sure that was a resounding success, but they weren't sold exclusively, and people had a lot of things on their mind, like getting their cups and their, whatever.
I think selling them at at the summer concerts, I hope that we have those there so that people can come and purchase those. I think it will be a great thing to do at all of our events, at our movies, at our concerts, at any of our events, at the gallery opening, maybe we can have them, anywhere that people come into contact with us and we have outside visitors, I think they should be available.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm really appreciative, Sam, that Stacy's going to sell them at the front desk, because a lot of people come in there for information. They, stumble in, and it's a nice addition as long as Stacy isn't overrun, and apparently she won't be.
Yeah, no, I think it's doable there. And any events at the community center, I think is easy. I'll have to chew on how to do it at Music in the Park a little bit because we only have one staff person at that. So I'm not sure if we'll be able to pull that off, but we definitely can do it.
Well, I don't think there'll be a mob to come up there, but I think,
it's just that you really have to have someone sitting there doing just that. And so that's not typically how we've run it. But I'll talk to Caitlin and see what we can come up with.
Okay.
Does the town use a square? Yeah. So that's pretty simple to learn if somebody has the willingness to do that.
Yeah, we don't have Wi-Fi there, so we have to figure out a hotspot.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I can say we will not have it on Sunday because I don't have enough time. But in the future, we'll work on that.
And I wonder if we can do reservations, pick up at the community center during the week, because it's mostly local people, isn't it?
Or I'm just thinking, because the ball caps, those are 20, right? I mean, even if we just had some there and if people had cash, I mean, I just think it would be great to just have some there and have the opportunity.
Yeah, let me talk with Caitlin when she gets in, and then we'll see if we can get it going.
Okay.
Is she okay?
Yeah, she just wasn't feeling well today.
Is the coop a possibility as a sales?
I can talk with them. I think that they are hesitant to be a reseller because there's just complications in that. Like they would have to buy them from us to sell them, and there's markup and all of that. So,
it's hard to have a third party involved because we're not making any money.
A little bit.
Very
but not
little. Very little.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say for example, at the concert, even if we just say, like I could even say when I am up introducing, I could say at intermission, you would have the opportunity to come over, to just give people a window or something and just say, come over, here and get your caps. They're $20 or whatever. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm sure we can work it out. It wasn't on my radar for the summer concerts, but we'll come up with something for sure.
And just in the FYI, which seems ridiculous since we sold 3 and I bought 2, but
was that the tote bag?
Yeah, the bag. I think we sold 7 hats.
That's all it is. You start the tip jar.
But according to Michael Aronson, they now have a supply.
Yeah, of course.
And the price, they can hold the price, but they don't know because of all the tariffs, how long they're going to be able to hold it, et cetera, et cetera. So if we start selling at a clip, then we might consider ordering them. And I think he said they could be here in 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. They're not coming from China anymore.
Do we know how many of the caps we've sold so far?
We sold 7 at Arts Up and Stroll, probably like 20, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have about 80 of those left and a full supply of the bags.
Did we get 100 of those?
Yes.
Oh, good.
And we got
I
100
think
bags.
those are going to sell easily
Yeah.
and quickly, and I think especially at the concerts and all of that, I bet we'll go through those.
And I had a good meeting as well with Natalie, the new chamber CEO, and I showed her, what we're doing. And so she, she's just absorbing lots of information. And so, but I think obviously is hearing from other people too about this retail discussion in town. So, but she liked it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, speaking of the chamber, I hope she'll come maybe to one of our meetings so we can all meet her.
I'll make sure to reach out on
But
that.
the chamber has just been phenomenal. They support us, anything we send to them, and they, as long as we meet their deadlines and so forth. They've been really great. So I haven't met her, but I would not miss the opportunity, and none of us should, to thank them for all their support. It's really been amazing. Okay. And so the moment has come. Sam.
I don't know how to make this show in presentation mode, but is there a trick? It's just a PDF. Okay. Oh, look at that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is my second year putting together a fancy report for you coming out of Art Sip and Stroll. I did it early enough for you to have it in your packet too, but I'll run through it as well. So we had 73 artists this year, and 17 were in the Community Center Drive, 12 on the Plaza, 7 on the Heritage Lawn, and 28 at the Estate Yountville. It was 75, but we did have 2 artists who had to withdraw, one due to illness and the other had a family emergency. So that is up 11 artists from 2024.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting. We also had 20 wineries this year. We had 14 last year, and they were split evenly between the community center property and the Estate Yountville. And we actually had a waiting list. So our wineries, I think, are really looking to diversify how they're reaching people and are very excited to do really anything. So I couldn't believe how the waiting list. Into talking with the chamber, going into next year, if we do the same model, we'll probably look at a way to capture our Yountville businesses first and then open it up outside just to try to, we did have several tasting rooms from Yountville that ended up on the waiting list, but of course, if they want to participate, we want to make sure we're able to accommodate them. So we're looking at that for the future. They did get the first right of refusal for any event coming up next, which the next one was Pride in the Park. And so I worked with the chamber to make sure those waiting list businesses got invited first. So as far as sales go, we talked about at the last meeting being a little slow. So last year in 2024, we had 938 sold and 44 comped. This year we had 758 total sold, 48 comped, and then we gave 1 to each artist. As Rhonda mentioned, we sold 3 tote bags, 7 hats, and 1 individual alone poster. We went into the day at about half pre-sale from the previous year, which was nice because we didn't have to turn anyone away. But with 20 wineries, we were prepared to sell up to 1,500 tasting packages. So our sales were down in that respect. But as I mentioned earlier, we are going to break even, but it kind of puts us at this precipice in our conversation of moving forward as everything is costing more. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Mm-hmm. But so marketing wise, we had a total spend of $11,236, which is more than we've ever spent on marketing. And I do have a couple of small invoices that were still out there that I didn't get added into the report. So that'll go up slightly. And I wanted to just talk about where we can analyze data for our marketing dollars. And so what I'm gathering through various sources is that a click-through of 0.04 to 0.08% is considered average. So that means someone looks at what the impression is and actually clicks to get to our website. So that, it seems so low to me, but I'm like, apparently that's average. And so Google Ads this year, that was something we did independently, that Caitlin and I worked on. We had 197,000 impressions, so that means that many people saw what we had pushed out, and 1,870 clicks. So that's just slightly over average. Our Sonoma Media contract this just takes into consideration the digital advertising, not the print. So over 400,000 impressions, but only 416 clicks. So wait, is that right? I think it's 4.16K clicks, so to 0.10%. So slightly higher than average. We did our own Facebook ads. We had 40,000 impressions, 578 clicks, which is 0.14. So that was actually our highest click-through, was our own targeted Facebook ads. And so through the event site, which is where we're selling our tasting packages, that EVVENT site, we had 526 views. So those are all kind of the local paid media calendars. And then looking at our website is a really great resource for all kinds of data on the traffic. So I looked at artsipstroll.com from February 1st to May 17th. And so we had over 14,000 sessions. So people visited our website over 14,000 times, and 11,000 were unique visitors. So obviously some people came back multiple times, but 11,000 were unique. This is what I found interesting. Over half of those unique visitors were coming from our paid Facebook ads. So they were clicking from, and it specifically tells you it was a paid sponsored Facebook ad. So they're coming to us from there. So that's like a lot. And then our direct, so people coming specifically to artsipstroll.com, which in my opinion, they're probably seeing our print ad, is how I would relate that to. So they would come, 23% of them, so coming directly to the website. And then a little over 2,400 were coming from Google. So I know this may sound like a lot of gibberish, but it helps us to kind of, in the future specifically, is direct our money. I think I will for sure make some changes to what we're doing with Sonoma Media, and most likely use more of our own resources through Facebook and Google ads with some of that money. But I think direct, people coming directly to artsipstroll.com at 23% tells me that some of those print ads, are valid. But you can't really tell, print ads are hard. You can't really tell what's happening with that outside of what each individual distribution rate is for whatever it is. So in regards to that, so we did do a Sacramento Bee print ad. It ran twice, and then we had the Press Democrat print, which ran 4 times. So the one nice thing about Press Democrat print is that they match it. So for every ad we place, they place another one for free. So we were able to run it 4 times, which is nice. And then of course the 6557 magazine print ad. We also spent some money with KVYN, KVON. And so on top of our money, Visit Napa Valley also had it running under their dime on KVYN, KVON. And then I did an in-person interview, and then 2 of our artists who are Spanish speaking actually did a phone interview on the Spanish speaking KVON side, which was great. And then of course there's all the other calendars, that we put it on, and then the rack cards. We spent a considerable amount of time and money on marketing this year, I guess is my point.
Is there a way when people pick up their tasting packages to make a note of where they're from?
So I can do a little bit of data on the pre-sale people, but, we can take a little bit of a touch on that. It's time consuming when you're trying to just help someone and get them out the door. So
I know, but it's hard. Some of them like the locals. It seems to me that the largest concentration of people that came were from here.
Yes. So I can tell you from the pre-sale list that definitely is the case. A lot of locals, a lot of names that I recognized. So, yeah.
It would be nice to increase that spread. So,
Yeah.
and
No, I agree.
Since we have a year,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be great if we focused on some major money sponsors. We all got excited a couple years ago when BMW approached us. But if we had a car, not an average car, I say respectfully, but if we had a BMW or a Mercedes or a Polestar or that people would want to get in and take a look at, then the sponsor would be able to farm those people, which is what they're after. And it would just be some money in our pot. I don't know why $10,000 comes to mind. I don't know what they usually offer for something like that. I have no connections. I'm just throwing it out there. You know,
What about Wells Fargo
what would
in town?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a conversation to have. Talk about that in a minute about, do we look for that? So this is focusing on the artist survey. So we sent that out. When I made the report, we had 39 respondees out of the 73 artists. So kind of just gives you a data point. It's not, all encompassing, of course. So we asked, how many items did you sell? And so, you can see here that almost 50% sold over 20 items. And then 11 to 20 items is 9, and then under 10 was 12 of the artists. So this is just kind of a touch point. It doesn't tell you, obviously, that the numeric value of what each item was, because it might have been, 5 items that were $6,000. But the next one was a little more meaningful. How are your total sales? And so you can see it's a fairly big spread, but where the majority are over $500. Mm-hmm. So we had a few, 3 said under 500. So, and then we had the same amount, 3 that sold over 5,000. So pretty big spread there. Mm-hmm. And then we asked if you participated in 2024, were your sales way up, better than last year, about the same, down? And this is my first year. So overwhelmingly 17 said their sales were down from the year before. And only 33 of the 73 responded to that. So, and we'll go through some of the kind of overarching comments about that. I don't think that's a surprise. I think, even in the survey, the email we sent out with the survey, it said, we understand it's an interesting economic climate that we're in right now. And, but we did what I feel was our very best to market this event and bring people in. So we'll go over the budget, and then we'll talk about some of the more pointed feedback items. So our total expenses, which we have a couple pending, not a huge amount, almost 67,000, and our revenues just over 69. So when I said we break even, we're about, we're netting about $2,000. It'll come down under 2,000. So last year we netted about 7. So it is down, but our expenses are significantly higher. So marketing wise, we spent more. Our largest expenses are marketing and then the tenting and event rentals. So the tenting and rentals went up because we increased by 11 artists. But taking into consideration that everything is costing more as well, like we charge the artist $350, but we're subsidizing each artist's tent, just the tent. So not even taking into consideration marketing or staff time, we're subsidizing each artist by, I think it's about $140, just the cost of the tenting. So there are things we have to consider for the future. And so feedback-wise, again, was your booth space adequate? Obviously, all of them, for the most part, said yes. We had 2 that said no. We did have a setup issue. That was one of the no's. Someone accidentally set up in the wrong booth space and was so far along that they didn't move, and the person felt like moving one booth over was detrimental to their day. And then one also had a complaint of wind, which if only I could control everything.
I was just going to say, Sam,
I know.
God, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, if only. And then do you feel like the event was worth your time and booth fee? And 33 of those 36 respondents said yes, and 3 said no. There was, I think sometimes artists who don't do well are trying to find a reason for why. And, of course, and, one noted that more wineries gives the perception that it's just a winery event, and why, come for the wine, not the art, which, as you may know, over the last, 10 years, we've worked really hard to move this from a wine event to an art event, but more wineries helps us to better distribute that. And then just a common theme of sales being down and not as many buyers. So, I think because it's difficult to count the people in attendance, I do think attendance was down, but I do think that even the people here were not the people that were making a lot of purchases. So,
when you send out a questionnaire like this, it's just human nature to have something to
absolutely
complain about.
Yeah.
So these seem to me very positive in the sense
Oh, yeah.
that,
Yeah.
So-
No, I definitely think it's, if people think it was worth their time, and 3 of the 33 said no. So I'm always the fixer, always wanting to know why you feel like that. And this is even more telling. Would you return again next year? 37 responded, and 35 said yes. So a lot of positive. It's the best event that they do all year. It's the best event in the Valley. But then again, even some of them with the positive still had the sales were down. There weren't as many buyers type of a note in there. So not surprising, but, lots of really great comments about how well done the event is. So I think we really take a lot of pride in that. So other comments, in kind of to your point, Rhonda, some artists, or at least I think it was 1 or 2, said it didn't seem to be as many out-of-town guests, which I think we feel. There was comments about missing the music in other areas. Obviously very appreciative of all the small details that we worked on, like making sure each area has designated Wi-Fi and the goodie bags.
I had a few people specifically say they love the goodie bags.
Yeah, so it's a small thing, in all honesty, and it makes a big deal. Yeah. The less spendy crowd comment. There was a couple, and I was getting text messages about artists starting to break down early, which I have noted, because we do say it could jeopardize you being accepted in the future. But what are you going to do in the moment? Go and yell at them? It's...
well, and the attendance just plummeted
at 4.
Started around 3:30.
Yeah.
And it just people, which was different than last year. 'Cause
Yeah,
last year they
people
kept
didn't
coming.
hang around.
So they just are
Was it
packing
windy
ahead.
then? Or did the wind come up then or something?
It was windy most of the day. It actually died off towards the end. So, I think they blame it. I get a lot of, even that day, like, well, the wine stops, so everyone leaves. But what people don't understand is that ABC requires us to stop pouring alcohol an hour before the end of the event time for our permit. And so I don't have a choice, because even if that we said, oh, okay, the event ends at 4, then I would have to stop pouring at 3. So it's kind of a catch-22. People are very grateful that we provide the tents, because it makes it a lot easier for them. For me, it makes the event look very clean and organized. Absolutely. And then, there were artists, and I appreciated it, had very realistic comments about the state of our economy. But then others, want to blame placement or the wineries or things like that. So I think there's the part of these small business owners that understand like where we're at in the world, and then there's some that may not. So we did a winery food truck survey as well. 11 of them responded, and so coming from a wine tasting room, actually a couple of them, just they really appreciate the opportunity to engage with the community. We got an 87 out of 100 for well organized. Everyone who responded would return. 89 out of 100 for overall, how did it go? It was interesting because one winery really, which I'm assuming is a Yountville winery because they recognize people, noticing people walking up with old cups in old, like, things that aren't really tokens. And so suggestions on maybe how we could change how we do that. And then two actually noted that they felt like 5 hours is a long time for wine pouring. So, but, we've been doing it that long for a while. But I do, we go through and count each winery's tokens that they collected because it helps me understand the flow and like where people are going. And so it was interesting to go through and see tokens that have nothing, they're not even ours. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And I'm like, in the big scheme of things, is it that big of a deal? But there was kind of like what I called Cupgate this year. So we gave every artist a tasting package, but then they wanted to split it or give it to somebody, but not give them the cup. And so we kept getting we kept being asked to give cups. And I said, no, we're not. It doesn't work like that. You have to have a tasting package. So I'm not sure how we'll navigate that in the future. And, what we gave to the artists was really just to be nice. It wasn't, you didn't buy it.
Right.
It was just a courtesy. And so it got a little contentious at one point, and I was like, this is crazy. So we only sell tasting packages, not a cup or.
And that's our first time giving the artist a courtesy tasting package. Is that right?
No, we've done it on and off.
They don't use them.
Yeah. No, and if they want to give it to a spouse, that's fine. But it was more like my husband gave me 3 of his tokens, but I need a glass, and it's like, no, we don't do that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but you can only control so much, and I don't necessarily think looking at the wineries response and the amount of tasting packages we sold this year, like none of them poured the 5 cases we prep them for.
And
so.
that was just one comment about the Yountville.
Yeah, it was funny though, because I'm not exactly sure who it came from, but I'm assuming it's one of our local tasting rooms who knows people. So I just thought it was kind of funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. And then, so other general comments, that may, we're not really around the survey or anything, but many comments about the Yonge Street area being terrific. We had varying feedback though from the food vendors. Some really liked being all in one place and did well. Others felt like maybe they would be best suited somewhere else. But, I feel like closing the street worked really well and provided a really safe space for people to take a break and eat. Alan, who's the general manager at Bartisono, was very happy. The closure worked perfectly. He tested it himself. He drove up and said, I'm going to Bartisono, and they let him in. But he was really supportive, and he was kind of my litmus test. Like, if it doesn't work, if Bartisono's not happy, this is not going to work. And they were very happy. So. The Central Musician, I feel like we got a lot of great feedback, was great for Yonge Street, but there is still that desire to have some music elsewhere, and I think we can absolutely work on that.
We can do that, yeah, absolutely. I loved how we had the picnic tables set up out there and then the little bistro tables, because there was a lot of people taking advantage of that when they got their food to sit down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that worked really well. Obviously, our partnership with the Estate Yountville is terrific. I sent a thank you email and got a really lovely email back from Gary Jabbar himself saying they really appreciate being able to partner with us. So I said, if you could put us on your calendar for next year. So that was really great to hear. They were very happy overall. And although the tasting packages were low, what was my point here? So tasting package sales were low, and that is key to keeping our costs down for the artists. So that's really what offsets the subsidy of the artist tent. So, like I said earlier, our pre-sale was half of what it was in 2024. I don't know why. We went up by $5, but I think we saw a lot more last minute buyers than we have in the future to even get us to $330. I mean, I think we were at $250. I think that Tuesday, I want to say. So I think people are just not committing to things in advance. And I heard more of like, oh, I didn't know I could only taste once per booth with one token. So I think people are just maybe a little tighter with their money right now. So breaking it down, as I mentioned before, the booth cost per artist, when I add all the parts up, is $467. So sorry, I misquoted it before, but so we subsidize by $117 per artist, and that's just for the tent table and chairs. So if we're going to, those conversations, as you brought up earlier, Rhonda, if we move into the future, I feel like we're kind of at the tipping point with the artists. I don't think we can really charge much more to them to have the same level of participation and have them feel like it is worth their while. And as those costs go up, we have to either look at different ways of recovering that cost. So is it with sponsors or, something else? So those are things that we can take into consideration as we plan for the future. So a couple notes I made is, although it was just one issue, it really was an issue that shouldn't happen. So better staff oversight as artists are checking in to make sure that they're in the right spot. Like I was just talking about, analyzing ways to bring costs down or gain sponsorships to offset costs. We can think about the old cups tasting wristband thing. And then, we had these conversations with beforehand, mainly Rhonda and I and Caitlin, is, really where is the state of our economy as we go into the next year, and travel and wine and art and all of those conversations. And, what can we control? How do we pivot? Because our main goal is the success of the event for our artists. I don't need to promote the wineries. Yountville Arts isn't in the business of selling wine, but we are in the business of supporting art and artists in Yountville. And so if it's not successful for them, then, it's not successful for us, in my opinion. But I think data-wise shows that although sales were down, it was still successful for the majority of them. So I don't think we're at the point of saying, like, should we do this anymore? I don't see that. It's just, how do we pivot as costs escalate is really to keep the price down. And then I think, an ongoing conversation from each year is the poster redemption. So we prepared 400 and only 200 got picked up. And so I know it's not a lot to print them, but do we have a huge amount left over because they're inexpensive to print 1,000. But is it something that people really want? Do we use it for marketing only? I don't know. Conversations to have.
I think at the event, people don't necessarily want to have to carry it around because it's just going to get crinkled, and then they'll end up throwing it away.
It's in a tube.
Yeah, it's in a tube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, the carrying it around thing, I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to say I like it because it's just a great image to produce. And
It is. I agree.
If we could find another use for it, I thought about folding it and sending it as a direct mail piece, but we don't do direct mail so much. But it just gets us off to a good start and a looking good promotion. But I think one thing you don't have here, and that is, I had artists tell me, I don't even care if I sell anything. You take such good care of us. The people are so nice. It's just great to be here.
Yeah, I had people say that too.
Yeah, it's that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's Sam and her staff. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are. I don't participate in vendor fairs a lot, but I hear from so many of them that that's not how they're treated everywhere. And, I'm not sure what the main goal of all those other places is, but ours is that they're successful. And so I want them to feel welcome and happy while they're with us. So I compare it to a wedding. We plan and work so hard, and then it's over in 6 hours,
Yeah.
But there are, some artists that have participated with us since the very beginning who say they come back just because of that, what you're saying. So it does mean a lot. So if we stick to the same time period, the third Saturday in May next year is the 16th.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, I think overall, you know, we made a little bit of money. We didn't lose money. Most people were happy. It didn't rain. It was a good day.
It's your fault we had wind, Sam.
It was my fault.
And that wind was
I know.
pretty gnarly, too. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
It was a beautiful day. It would have been really warm without that breeze.
Yes.
I wish it would be a little bit less intense, but the breeze really helped, I think.
I helped a few of the jewelry people that were their stuff was blowing around, and so
Yeah.
I was helping pick it up and put it and try to, you know,
And I think overwhelmingly the new vendors had really great things to say. So I think where we run into challenge sometimes is the people who may not had a great day and they blame it on the fact that we put them in a different location than last year when they did really well.
The puzzle people from
Yeah,
Oakland,
they were happy.
They were so happy.
Yeah.
They were super nice, and I got a chance to chat with them for a little while, and they said they actually sold quite a few. I asked them what their popular designs were and whatnot, but they seemed to be really happy.
Yeah, and the veterans home, I mean, I don't know if you got back there, but we're still, you know, under construction, but we covered it so that they could use it. And I got an email. So the Tug McGraw Foundation sponsors that veterans booth and really helps them, you know, conduct all the sales that day. And they were so happy. The pottery man, I mean, he sold so many pieces.
Oh,
and
he was hawking those sales.
He was.
Wow, that's great.
I know. Yeah. It was, they really have a great time and love coming out. So,
Well, I'm sorry to have missed it this year.
yeah.
I plan to be here next year, but I do certainly want to give kudos to you, Samantha, and your crew. As always, you do a magnificent job.
Thank you.
And I'd like to also give kudos to our chair.
Absolutely.
She
Yeah.
keeps us going.
No, it's definitely a group effort. It's a big event. So, and even Cindy got out there. I saw her.
I don't remember much of it.
It was fabulous. I had a girlfriend visiting me for the weekend, and she had the time of her life. She thought it was such a great event. Yeah. And I tried to get around to every booth that I could and just thanked everyone, thanked the wineries, just, you know, yeah. And everybody was super gracious and basically said the same thing. We love coming here because we're treated so well. It's such a wonderful event. The people are so just kind and, yeah.
Great.
Well, thank you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you deliver a report on top of that.
Well, I totally tell you I'm a data geek. Like, I got to see. I'm like, how do people go? How many people went to our website? Oh.
We'll be microchipping them soon.
Well, there's this whole geospatial advertising situation that I'm going to deep dive in. So, like, anybody who's in downtown Napa, like that Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning, it'll pop up on there. I'm working on it. The chamber's dabbling in it right now.
On what? On
Yeah, so you know when you open your social media and you get
yeah.
random ads, like when I'm in Washington, I open it and I get all these
Because you have
Washington
your
ads.
location services turned on.
Yeah, so people like who maybe are staying in Napa or something or Sonoma, they're gonna open it up. Like, what am I gonna do today? And up pops Art Tip and Stroll. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Come to Yountville and buy a tote bag.
Yes. I will. All right. Well, awesome, Sam. Thank you. And I think, well, it's fresh on our mind. I think it would be great to schedule a
A
meeting.
recap.
Yeah. And go over some hard stuff.
Yes.
You know.
yeah.
Sam, I will not be at the July meeting. I'm
Okay.
going for a family reunion in Michigan. My uncles and my dad, my aunt, they're all in their 90s.
Oh, my God.
And they're all coming.
That's sweet. That's so sweet. Yeah. Well, did you say you won't be here in July either?
I will not be here for the July meeting, so Caitlin will be here, and of course Hillary. So, and then if there's any questions that they can't answer, then I'll follow up with you.
Okay. Okay, are there any commissioner comments or reports or?
I just wanted to make one staff informational comment.
Sure.
Just if you, I believe I emailed it out, but I'm excited that, so July will be the last meeting for Cindy and Marita. So thank you both for your time. And we'll have one more meeting, and they'll be acknowledged at an upcoming council meeting if you're able to attend. I believe that was the June 17th, right? Yeah. And so I'm really excited to welcome Linda Faber, who's here with us and has been for several meetings, which is exciting. Thank you for volunteering, Linda. And Judy, as our incumbent, is reappointed. And then David D'Amico, who you'll meet at the July meeting, he'll sit in, is a resident of Yountville, and he's joining the commission as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
Yeah, so the council's new process, as long as there's the same number of applicants as positions, they don't do interviews anymore. They review applications and then appoint. So makes it an easier process for everybody. But I'm really excited. I think, Linda, reading her application and resume is very impressive. And I've worked with David before on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, and I think he'll be a great asset as well. So. And of course, Judy, I'm glad she's staying with us. So.
Great things about David?
Yes, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So that was it for me. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, on the same note, thank you, Cindy. How many years have you been on that?
I don't remember.
Ooh.
I think it's 3 terms, so 6
Kim was
years.
chair.
Yeah,
Kim was chair.
That sounds right.
at least 6 years. Yeah.
And you're leaving us so soon.
I know.
It's not a Supreme Court appointment.
6 years, that's a good run though, sister. That's good.
And Marita, we're all so sad that you're leaving us. And you're not going to get away.
No, I'm not going to be gone completely, but
Cindy, you're not going to be gone completely. No.
I decided to take it a little easier. I'm probably the oldest one in this room, too. So.
No, I don't know. Some of us are pretty close. Yeah. So anyway, thank
You're gonna
you.
build your advisory members. That's what's going to happen.
Good.
Your alumni.
Yes.
So
Our boots
that
on the
means we can
ground.
call on
Yes.
you?
Mm-hmm.
We can
Boots
call
on
on
the
you
ground.
frequently.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this
That was it. You see her shaking her head. Yes.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, is that as sad as we are to not have you on the commission anymore, knowing that you're going to have boots on the ground is great, because it's a bonus, because we have new people plus you. So,
Yeah. So thank you. And I think other than that, I don't have any other commissioner comments or reports. Does anybody? No?
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting for today.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. And those opposed? Aye. So the motion carries. And I forgot, anybody who wants to join us over at Bartisono for a glass of wine or whatever you're drinking, actually cancel that. It's going to be at Cindy's house so that she can join us. Didn't I tell you that?
There's a lovely pill at my house that has enjoying that.
So anyway, we're just going to go over there from here, so please join us if you can.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
I know, I even turned it up a little too. I thought it's still like, we need more bodies in here, I guess.
See, I thought it was hot in here, but, up until just now.